You want to know what lazy propaganda looks like? It looks like this. Bro, look at the ghost of Kiev shooting down 70,000 Russian planes with his bare hands. Look at this hot Instagram model picking up her guns and defending her town and this and that. You are literally being psy-opped by the neoliberal political class. Like, you are being intentionally lied to on purpose. And sadly, so few people seem to understand this. Like, I fully get why liberals would shill for this type of propaganda, because they are 100% in ideological lockstep with the people who run the foreign policy establishment, the mainstream media, the defense contractors, etc., etc. But it really does baffle me why exactly conservatives are so easily falling for this type of propaganda. So that's the topic of today's video. Why conservatives need to stop falling for this dramatized, over-the-top Ukrainian propaganda coming from the mainstream media and the State Department, etc., etc. But before we continue in this video, be sure to leave a like and be sure to subscribe if you're new for more epic conservative content. It is so true. But anyways, I don't even really know how to start with this, so let me just say that it absolutely baffles me that conservatives can so easily suddenly fall for the lies of the same exact people who call them a domestic terrorist neo-Nazi on a regular basis. Like, these are the people who lied about George Floyd. They declare January 6th to be an insurrection. They say the 2020 election was, so why exactly all of a sudden do we believe these liars now? It's actually quite confusing to me. So let me just say that you are not a patriot, you're not a conservative, and you are certainly not a smart person if you are suddenly shilling for the mainstream media, for the political establishment, and of every major institution that is clearly against you in this country. Like, why exactly is it so hard and so controversial to get out here and say, maybe all of this very deliberate, conditioned, pro-Ukraine, anti-Russia propaganda, maybe there's kind of an ideological goal here. Maybe we shouldn't believe all of a sudden that the people who lie to us on a regular basis all of a sudden are suddenly telling the truth. And someone might say, well, Vince, what incentive exactly does the mainstream media have to lie to you? Seriously, like honestly, if you're a conservative even asking that question in 2022, you're just not going to make it. Like, I don't know what to do with you. But for argument's sake, let's talk that out. Like, I wonder, what potential incentive might the media and political class have to lie about this conflict? Well, let us first and foremost remind ourselves that Ukraine is the country that the Biden family went into under the Obama presidency and did a bunch of corrupt deals in. So let us remind ourselves that Ukraine absolutely is a country where Biden and the greater political class as a whole clearly has some type of corrupt dealings and corrupt stake in. So that's number one. Let us also, number two, remember that Putin as a leader is something of a nationalist. As leader of Russia, he has been pro-family, he's been pro-Christianity, and he's opposed things like mass immigration and globalization to fix his country's population problem. He's actually taken the opposite approach, and therefore, in many ways, love Putin, hate Putin is absolutely undeniably true that in many ways, Putin represents a rebellion against the doctrine of global neoliberalism. So you see the obvious contrast here. Just ask yourself the question, is it maybe possible that I'm being lied to in regards to this conflict? Is it possible that all of the pro-Ukraine, very over the top by the way, pro-Ukraine, anti-Russia psy-opping is on purpose and is being done exactly with that corrupt motive by the neoliberal political class? Why is that so controversial to say? Let me ask this other question. Why is it that big tech is censoring Russian media at the moment? Okay? Because you may be saying, well, maybe they're just doing it with good intentions because genuinely the political class is telling the truth about this conflict. But let us also remind ourselves that big tech is literally using the same exact methods they use against conservatives in America, right? The censorship, the deplatforming against Russian media. And we already know that big tech does not operate with good intentions, okay? Because we have seen that firsthand. So why exactly are you suddenly going to assume that suddenly now when it comes to this conflict, every institution in this country that hates you and has been acting for evil, all of a sudden all these institutions are just getting together and suddenly acting for good, despite the fact that, like I just said, this conflict does have highly political and ideological motives and undertones for them? Why is it so hard to maybe recognize the fact that you are being psy-opped? And look, I don't pretend to know everything about this conflict because I'm kind of retarded, but I do know that the American political class has a vested interest against Putin for very similar reasons to why they have a vested interest against Trump supporters and people like us. So with that said, maybe I shouldn't be buying all their narratives at face value. Maybe it's not entirely true that this is a totally unprovoked invasion of aggression by some evil autocratic Eastern dictator against a Western peaceful democracy. Maybe the kind of anecdotal crazy stories that I'm being fed by Ukrainian media to American media, maybe those are slightly exaggerated and being fed for a very specific purpose. Maybe, generally speaking, the things and the ideas that are being spread about this war, about Ukraine, about Russia, are not entirely true. I don't see why this is so hard for self-proclaimed free thinkers. Like, that's the part of most of your guys' slogan. I don't use it because I think it's a cope. I'm not a fan of the whole free thinker line, but how hard is it for a supposed free thinker, of someone who's awake, not woke, to maybe look and say that, hey, maybe all the woke institutions that are spreading this stuff, maybe they're lying to me. Maybe there's a reason why liberals are the most, like, pro-Ukraine, war hawkish faction all of a sudden. Like, maybe what they're trying to psy-opt me into is a war for liberalism. And maybe because I'm a conservative, I shouldn't want to be fighting wars for liberalism, especially when it is so clear that these people hate me and want me to be destroyed. But I guess, you know, they'll persecute me for saying it. I know that, like Pat Buchanan and like the conservative legends of the past, I will be labeled an unpatriotic conservative for saying that, you know, maybe our interest isn't exactly in a faraway Eastern European country. I will be labeled a traitor. I will be labeled an agent of Russia, which maybe I am, but still, regardless, I will be labeled all of these things for pointing out the simple truth that the greatest threat to our freedom and to the American way of life is not Vladimir Putin. It is actually all the institutions in this country, be it Washington, D.C., Silicon Valley, Hollywood, all of these things. Literally, the institutions that we know are controlled by cultural Marxists. I know that for calling all of these things out and for spreading the very simple pro-Trump doctrine of America first, I will be called a great degree of names. But it frankly doesn't matter because I do not seek the approval of these people. I do not want the approval of the political class. I do not want the approval of the idiot mainstream journalists or all of these people. These are the people who are literally driving our country off a cliff. They hate us. They want to destroy everything that is good about this country. Why should I seek their approval? Because when it comes to muzzling up kids and teaching our children to hate white people, you know, last I checked, that isn't exactly Xi or Putin or any foreign leader doing that. That is the people who run this country. And so from my point of view, the greatest obstacle to American patriots is not any foreign government. It is from within. And therefore, in order to be a true patriot, I cannot and I should not be seeking the approval of that same political establishment. And you shouldn't either. But honestly, though, when you look at how easily so many conservatives were just psy-opped into falling for all of this Ukraine stuff, it's not hard to understand how exactly we lost our country. Like, it's not hard to understand how our country was successfully psy-opped away from us over the course of 40 years. Like, if we are this gullible, we are this easy to fool, it's sad, but it's very true. You can see how easily they did it, okay? But we will not let them do it anymore. We are truly awake, not woke, whatever that weird slogan is, okay? And so we will no longer be kowtowing, regardless, we don't care what the issue is. We will no longer be towing the party line of the American political class, of the American regime. We are long past that, okay? We are real conservatives. We are real patriots. We recognize who our real enemies are, okay? And, you know, they may be more so domestic than they are foreign, just saying. And we're just not going to deal with it anymore. So stop falling for the lies. Don't push them. Don't peddle them. There's a very clear agenda here. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So with that being said, folks, thank you very much for watching this video. Again, be sure to subscribe if you're new. Very good stuff. Very epic. Big numbers. I hope you guys have a great day. Again, like I said, we'll be doing daily uploads this week. Or daily uploads or streams this week, because I know I was very inactive last week. So we are back. We are so back. It's so true. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Alpha Moose only, and peace.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo as long